Samarth by Hyundai began in 2023 with a vision of a more inclusive India. Today, that vision has grown into an initiative driving real change. In partnership with Times Network this year, the initiative has evolved into a powerful movement, one that brought together technology, innovation and collaboration. The Samarth India Conclave and Expo was a celebration of this movement, championing inclusion, accessibility and the power of human potential. With assistive technology at its heart and NCPEDP as the knowledge partner, the Samarth India Conclave and Expo brought together policymakers, innovators and communities, showcasing 25 assistive solutions that empowered persons with disabilities.
At Hyundai, we believe mobility is far more than just a movement. For us, mobility means the possibility. It is a strength to empower community we serve and create a brighter future for all. Samarth has amplified the message of inclusion, reaching millions across the country. At the grassroots, our initiatives continue to nurture and empower emerging talent, ensuring sustained impact beyond the spot. At Hyundai, Samarth is not just an initiative. It is a resolute commitment to create a world where technology and humanity move together. Together, let us build a Samarth Bharat, where everyone can dream fearlessly, grow cohesively, and live with pride. Thank you, Dhanyavad.
So it's an honor as well as a responsibility to stand before you today at the first Samarth Conclave and Expo, a gathering that is not just about innovation, but about intention. An intention to build a world which is not just accessible, but inclusive. A world that embraces inclusion, not as charity, but as character. This platform is built to revisit, redefine, and reimagine inclusivity as a cornerstone of progress. And today on this platform, I'm very proud to announce 2 ambitious steps that mark a new chapter in our journey of Samarth India. First, we are introducing Samarth Accessibility Metric, SAM, a first of its kind accessibility framework developed in partnership with Times Network and Samarthyam. This metric will serve as a guiding principle for designing and evaluating accessible infrastructure in the country. And second, with support from our HMI Foundation, we are soon starting a program to mentor and fund startups over the coming year. Now, these startups will focus on developing and deploying cutting-edge assistive technologies, bridging the gap between potential and possibility for millions. So guys, together, let us drive this movement forward. Let us accelerate towards a Bharat that is not just accessible, but truly inclusive. Thank you. Jai Hind.
At the Samarth India Conclave and Expo, a defining milestone was the launch of the Samarth Accessibility Metric, SAM. Times Network, under the Samarth by Hyundai initiative, partnered with Samarthyam to develop SAM, India's first accessibility rating system for built environment and spaces. Ministers were presented with SAM at the event, elevating accessibility from aspiration to national agenda.
The concept of Divyang is something which is not only for the Indian society, but it is to be learned for the global community. When the Divyang concept was being given primacy, I have seen the confidence level of the Divyang Jan coming forward and working towards making the society much more stronger, much more balanced. We have to not only be gender neutral or age neutral, we have to be disable neutral. So that is where the assistive technology is playing a critical role. When I see this kind of platforms, this kind of conclave, It is so much of encouraging. मुझे तो ये लगता है कि हमारा अब काफ़ी हमारा नज़रिया भी बदल गया है, गवर्नमेंट का सोचना भी बदल गया है, एंड कंपनियों का जो टेक्नोलॉजी कंपनी में काम करता है वो भी एक से बढ़कर एक स्टेप आगे बढ़ रहा है. I think a day will come, as long as the human being is alive, he will never feel disabled. The technology will balance everybody to that extent. It is a great effort done by Hyundai as well as the Times Network, which has wonderfully coordinated and ensuring bringing so much of people who are connected with the matter. So many of our people from different categories are invited here, and we must hold the hands of everyone, and this is what Hyundai and Times Network has done today. I am excited and touched that this event, this kind of events, are being given priority.
Legendary artist and a brilliant speaker, Anupam Kherji, MD Hyundai, Unsu Kim, dear Tarun Gargji, who is a pride of India and pride for India. It's an honor to join the Samarth India Conclave and Expo. The literary meaning of word Samarth in Hindi is one who is capable. India's constitution does not treat equality as charity. It considers it as a fundamental right. Accessibility is not just add-on. It's not a privilege, and it is certainly not optional. Accessibility is a constitutional promise in India and a moral responsibility, and our Sanatan ethos even go beyond. And they says that it is a service offered to the God, a responsibility that all of us in government, industry, and society must fulfill. I congratulate Hyundai Motors India Limited and the Times Network for the Samarth initiative, which is an idea that blends technology, design, narrative, and social responsibility. We are witnessing the launch of India's first accessibility rating system, SAM, developed by Samarthyam Center for Universal Accessibility. The SAM enables scientific assessment of public and private spaces on mobility design, infrastructure layout, accessibility standards, and inclusivity parameters. This will become a national benchmark, a tool for accountability, a guide for future designs, and a bridge between policy and implementation. What makes India special? It is this conclave, which is led by persons with disabilities as panelists, moderators, innovators, and entrepreneurs. This is not a symbolic, this is structural. When persons with disabilities lead the conversation, the solution becomes human-centered, practical, and also transformative. As we move towards Viksit Bharat 2047, our definition of development must include accessible infrastructure, accessible education, accessible mobility, accessible culture, accessible tourism, and above all, accessible mindsets. Because the real challenge is not infrastructure, the real challenge is change of attitude and behavior. Today, from this platform, I call upon policymakers, corporate leaders, innovators, startups, NGOs, and every citizen. Let us commit to building an India that is not just technologically advanced, but socially compassionate, not just smart, but inclusive, not just prosperous, but participatory. I congratulate Hyundai Times Network, NCP, EDP, and all participating organizations, most importantly, I salute the individuals whose courage and leadership continue to show us what a truly Samarth India looks like. Thank you very much, and my special thanks to the partners, all the partners in this Samarth campaign. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
The Samarth India Conclave and Expo was more than an event. It was a powerful step towards a barrier-free India, with ideas and solutions taking center stage. The conversations and commitments together drive a stronger, more empowered India, one that is truly Samarth. In an impactful panel discussion on inclusive design, experts explored how collaboration between government and industry can unlock the full potential of assistive technology and inclusive infrastructure.
We need some regulatory body to monitor it constantly and consistently, right? We talk about accessibility audit, but is that a continuous thing which we are carrying out, right? It should not be selective, right? It should be always continuous one, right? And it should not be only a sensitive. It should take us to this extent of sensibility.
It is not a matter of a state leading or a person leading or a team leading. It is a collective effort. हमें ये sensitization क्या बार-बार करने की ज़रूरत है? मैं और ये fraternity के यहाँ पे जितने भी लोग बैठे हैं, ये मानेंगे कि ये continuous process है. हाँ, ये बात पक्की है कि we are going well, we are going on the right route, but थोड़ा और speed पकड़ लिए तो we achieve what exactly India is, and probably our country has a wonderful strength to achieve that.
We need to understand that people with disabilities are not just beneficiaries, but experts of their own lived experiences. So if we really want to put into practice the spirit of nothing about us, without us, is by having people with disabilities from the very start in the drafting committee of any policy, in spite of consulting them for any feedback for a new policy. Whenever there are any softwares, websites, or apps developed, it should be co-designed by people with disabilities. We should ensure that any conversation and any decision about people with disabilities, especially women with disabilities, rural people with disabilities, and people with disabilities with any kind of intersectionalities, should be consulted and should be at the center of all the conversation and decision.
For us at the Godrej Industries Group, it's something that we have done comprehensively. So the first thing is, we have said that inclusion has to be comprehensive. And this is all kinds of inclusion, whether it is women, whether it's persons with disabilities, whether it's LGBTQI+, or any underrepresented minority. It has to start with policies. It has to move on to benefits. It has to move on to sensitization. It has to be measured. So everything has to be measured. So we track in all our businesses the number of persons with disability, because you can talk so much. And for, we have about 300 as of now. Our aim is next year to be 400, then 800. And these are people who are sharing their status that they are persons with disabilities with us. There might be so many who are not sharing, but we want to get to a place where people can share. It has to be, as Govindji said, it has to be enforced. So one of the things that we have done is all our senior leaders, anyone who is above vice president, 15% of their goal sheet is linked to inclusion mandates.
It's good to have policy, but until and unless it comes into the process, it will actually not get implemented. And the example I would like to share is that, we've been talking about accessible construction, accessible buildings and everything. It's only because it has now been put into the building code that you ensure that every new building coming up is accessible. So that's the sort of a thing that has to be done. Every website, why can't we mandate that WCAG standards are followed so that every website which is made is actually accessible friendly? And if you actually do the intervention at the design stage, then you need very fractional increase in cost and not big one.
The event continued with another powerful panel discussion spotlighting the pioneers of assistive technology in India. Entrepreneurs are not just inventing products, but shaping independence, dignity, and equal opportunity.
Assistive technology is enabling me to participate in everyday's life, and it breaks the barrier when I am trying to access anything which may be a service or my right or whatever. There's a momentum in the country where we are talking about assistive technology a lot. Look at the national education policy, how it talks about using technology for inclusive education. Samarth by Hyundai, you see, very focused on assistive technologies. And it's very powerful, I think, and it has really shaping, but there are a lot of other ecosystems that need to be put in place to make it actually work.
People with disabilities are in political circles not seen as a strong enough influential political vote bank, right? And when people don't come together, their advocacy is unfortunately not able to land as some other advocacy is perhaps able to land. So I think one of the first things we've been trying to do is how to sort of make sure that politicians view this constituency as a vote bank that eventually they need to work for. And one of our leading arguments has increasingly been is that persons with disabilities are not alone. It's every family member that gets affected. Secondly, India is rapidly aging, right? So which means that all the people who are now going to become older are people who will need those same accessibility aids as anybody else. And this is politically relevant.
When I had an amputation when I was 24 years old, so I lived with, I lived as an able-bodied person for 24 years old, till I was 24 years old. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, I'm an amputee, I am a person with disability, and the way people started looking at me changed. And that was a big shock for me. And in a shock, what I say is, the discomfort came from stares, the discomfort came from the exclusion, but I was never uncomfortable with curiosity. There are so much things that has been attributed to people with disability. And I think those are the things that has to, the best thing to do here is just be a kid, just be curious. You don't have to take things seriously.
We have to look at a lot of technologies around us which are there in our daily basis, including the keyboard on your laptop. It is a successor to the typewriter, which was invented for the blind. So a lot of things that we use every day are that. And when we design experiences again for people with disabilities, and we are not talking only the destination, because the journey is not starting when they reach. The journey starts when they think of traveling and go online, not to find accessible travel content, not being able to book a trip because the website is not accessible, not being able to reach out to a person who can actually cater to their accessibility needs. So this whole chain of the journey needs to be accessible, and this creates better experience for everyone.
And आप लोगों के वाकई में सपने सच कर रहे हैं. So kudos to that.
The Samarth India Conclave and Expo was not just an event for persons with disabilities. It was led by them, reaffirming that an accessible India is not a dream in the distance. It is already taking shape.